Hello there, it's Maddie of The Girly Geek and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here, nice to have you. Today I am finally back with a reading journal update. My apologies to anyone who's been waiting for this. I know I was putting out videos every month, but you know, life got the better of me and the past few months have been a blur, so I'm finally here to update you on what I've done in my journal since. The last reading journal video that I posted was my setting up for March spreads. So I set all those up, and then after that I kind of fell off the wagon of posting, and I'm sorry about that. Things got kind of chaotic, but here is my finished spreads for March. I ended up reading quite a decent amount in March because it was kind of right when things were picking up, but not too busy yet. So this is my March overview. As you can see, this is where I like to track my reading every month and see what progress I make. And then I fit in a decent amount of reads for the month. Some of them were new favorites, some of them were kind of disappointing, but it was a good reading month all in all. And I managed to somehow keep my summaries short because as the year is going by, they are getting longer and longer. And it's getting out of control. It takes me way too long to write these little summaries because for each book I read, I have like a whole Notion page where I like brain dump. So they're long. And then I have to summarize them into these tiny summaries. So yeah, that's another reason why a lot of this is delayed, because it takes me so long to do those summaries. In March, I managed to read almost every day, but in April, that completely went out the window. So, speaking of April, let's get into my setups for April, May, and June. Unbelievable that that's how much time has passed, but yeah, I did film all of these clips on time, but I didn't have a chance to edit them and get them up for you guys, so I thought I'd splice them all together in a nice little video so I can catch up and finally get back on top of these videos. If you're looking to see the process, that will all be in this next little section here. And if you just want to skip ahead to see the final products and the finished spreads, then I will have a timestamp down below, and hopefully future me will have put in some chapters to this video. So back to the April spread. As always, I start with my month at a glance page, which is basically like a monthly calendar where I track my progress through all my reads. Basically, every day I write the percentage I got up to in whatever I am reading at the moment. So whether it be physical, audio, or ebook, I usually track my reading through Notion, and I have a little formula there where I put in the page I'm up to and tells me the percentage. So that's what I use for that. In any case, I am sticking to the same theme as I always do, which is basically books and stars and flowers. I like to keep it pretty simple. As you can see, there's not a lot of color. I often have my doubts about whether anyone will still watch these setup videos because I do stick to such a consistent theme. I like the consistency. I've mentioned that in a couple of my videos before. It has really held me accountable during this year. I don't think I've ever stuck to a journal this consistently, because I'm always changing my mind about things, but I really like the theme and I'm so glad I've stuck with it this long. I mean, 6 months, that's no small feat. So April ended up being the most chaotic month, so I didn't get a whole lot of reading in, but I obviously didn't know that going into the month. I still set up as normal. I was so optimistic, so young and naive to think that I would be able to maintain reading as much as I had previously when I was starting study again and also taking on a new job. That just, I don't know why I thought that would happen. It just didn't, you know? past me was so hopeful. She was going into this setting up and allowing a lot of pages for my reading summaries. I always like to have more than necessary. It's always better to have more than you need, because it's easier to remove pages than it is to add in pages, which I learned, I think, in January. So ever since then, I have been doing more pages than I think I will read. It just so happened that in April, I ended up reading the least I have read in a long time. I wasn't particularly in a slump or anything. I just really didn't have a lot of time to read during April. I mentioned earlier, I just got back into studying, and I also started a new part-time job, so that's where most of my energy was being devoted. And at the end of the day, sometimes something has got to give. I mean, I was also still running my shop and trying to post content elsewhere. So at the end of the day, the thing that ended up falling behind was my reading in April. I am very passionate about the fact that I want reading to feel like leisure. In the past, when I was doing reviewing and things, it started to suck a little bit of the fun out of it, made it feel like work. And I know in this day and age, it's really hard to put those firm boundaries between things that you do for yourself and things that you commodify. I know I'm certainly guilty of this. I mean, I have kind of made a little bit of a hustle out of my creative, pursuits, but that's not to say that I don't still enjoy them. I do enjoy them, and I like some things to still just be for me. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to commodify your talents and your gifts. It's certainly something that, everyone does, and it is a good thing to do as well, to share your passion with the world and share the gifts that you were given. But I am also saying that sometimes it's a little exhausting to kind of only use those talents for the consumption of other people. This journal started out as something that I wanted to do purely for myself, for me to write little summaries of the books I read and have them to look back on in the future. They are not in any way reviews. I used to write like full-on reviews. I don't anymore. The summaries that you see in this journal are basically just my thoughts summarized. That's what I mean by summary. It's not a summary of the book, it's just my thoughts and, everything I felt about it into a little really condensed, piece of writing. It's not my full experience, but it's something that I want to have to look back on to kind of remember my reads better, because I have read hundreds of books in my lifetime and I know a lot of them that I've loved and enjoyed, but sometimes I really cannot remember for the life of me details. So this is me trying to amend that. I don't really write these reviews or summaries, for the consumption of other people. I know that some of you will inevitably pause the videos and read them, or, try and read them from my Instagram posts or whatever. And I'm not bothered by that, of course. I know that putting them out there means that people can see them, they are visible, but I do just write them for myself. But I do like being able to share the creative process with you guys, because I know that a lot of people like to look to others for inspiration, and I'm always happy to provide some. We all have such different minds and such different insights, and it really is awesome that we get to take inspiration from other people and, take them and twist them and make them into something that merges with our own, thoughts and experiences to create something completely different. So that's always what the purpose of these videos is. It's also not lost on me that the reading and journaling or planning communities are not the most accessible spaces. A lot of the popular content centers around, having the luxury and the privilege to purchase stacks and stacks of gorgeous hardcover books, and the same goes for planner supplies. I know I like to invest in things that I like, and for me that's stationery and planning, but a lot of people aren't afforded that luxury. So especially with these journaling videos, I tried to make sure I kept things pretty simple in the fact that you don't need the fanciest supplies or the most, extensive stationery collection to try and recreate something that's this style. While I do use a lot more stickers and things and fancier supplies in my planner, when I started doing this journal, I wanted it to be a lot more stripped back, and I was very cognizant of the fact that I wanted to keep the supplies that I use to a minimum to make it as accessible as possible. I think that does come as an effect of having been in the planner/journaling community online for a while. There is definitely a mindset of, more is more, of people just, I wouldn't say hoarding, but trying to have the most extensive collections, and definitely being a bit showy about it. And I'm definitely guilty. I mean, who doesn't want to show off the nice things they have? But I think that I've definitely been more conscious about trying to have a better balance on my channel and in my feed of things that, are much more simple. I am not in any way implying that having an extensive collection and showing it off is a bad thing. I mean, people work hard for the things they have. I also have worked hard for the things I have, and I like to share them sometimes, but I also think it is a good idea for us to be more conscious of the fact that not everyone has access to these items, and to also make an effort to put out content that doesn't center around things that you need to spend a lot of money to have. I mean, when I first joined the book community, so to speak, I was a teenager, so I did not have a lot of money at all. But what I did have, I chose to spend on, books and ebooks. And now that I've grown a little bit older, that has expanded into stationery and things, and I like to invest my money in that. But I'm also very aware of the fact that there's people like my teenage self out there who are looking for inspo and don't necessarily have a lot of disposable income. So I want to be more conscious about creating some content that doesn't rely heavily on you needing to have expensive things or extensive collections of stationery or books to be able to achieve. At the end of the day, everyone watching this video is so different and has unique tastes, and you guys read all different genres, so it all comes down to a love of reading, whatever it may be, and a love of creating and putting pen to paper. So that's what I try to highlight in these videos, and I hope that shows. Let me know if it does. I hope it does, but if you have any suggestions for how I can improve, I'm always open to hearing them. Anyways, back to the journaling, I guess. I never like to sit and try and talk through what I'm doing in these videos because it's all so repetitive. I mean, I'm just going to be like, I'm drawing a square and another square and a flower and a book like 100 times. So you get the gist. At this point in the recording, I was going back and finishing my stats pages for May and April. I did them at the same time. Sometimes I just have my stats and do them all at the end of the month because I keep track in Notion, and then I go ahead and do them after the fact. And then I got moving on to my June spread. Although April was a bit of a flop with only finishing 2 books, I've managed to recover and get a little bit back on track. I've been reading a lot more. Somehow I'm finding time to manage things, but I'm still struggling. It takes much more of a conscious effort nowadays, but I've read a lot and I've read some new faves. So yeah, it's been a good time. I'm gonna get to setting up my June spread in just a second. You'll see I didn't record the entire thing because, again, it's pretty repetitive, but I thought you would want to see me working on some of the doodles, so I included that here. Once June is over, I'm thinking that my next journal update will actually be me not only setting up for July, but also doing a bit of a mid-year recap. So kind of a summary page with some graphs about stats and things on my reading so far this year. So let me know if you're interested in seeing that, and I'll definitely put that together somehow. I will find the time. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what that will be like. Let me know what your favourite reads of this year so far have been. I'll be sure to share a couple in that mid-year review when I get to it, but mostly I've been reading romance and I have a lot of favourites so far this year. If you do want to know more about what I read, since I don't really talk about it in these videos all that much because I know a lot of people read different genres, I have my Goodreads link down below, and I also post a little bit on my Instagram stories about reads from time to time. So be sure to follow me on either of those if that's something you're interested in. Anyways, let's get into what my spreads look like thus far. I haven't finished all of my summaries for May just yet, but I'm getting there. So first, let's get into what April looks like now. Here is my month at a glance and my reading progress. As you can see, it's a little sparse. I didn't get the most reading in. It was chaos. My mind was elsewhere, but I did end up finishing 2 books. The first one was not my favorite, but I had a lot of thoughts, and then this second one I enjoyed a lot more. So those are my thoughts there. Next is my stats. Pretty boring since I only read 2 books, but what can you do? And there is my days read counter as well. Going into May, I gotta be real with you. It's empty at the moment because all my info is in Notion and I've yet to write it down, but I did get rid of the little TBR on the side because I decided I don't really like it. Moving forward, I might just do a dedicated TBR page, but for now, I'm not really doing a TBR because I write a digital one on Notion and it changes a lot. So yeah, these are my May spreads that I've done thus far. I still have a lot more to do. I did end up reading a bit more in May, especially in comparison to April, so I'm going to be filling those out shortly and they will hopefully be done in my next reading journal update. I mean, they will totally be done in my next one. I will make myself do them for the next update, which will be for the July spreads and my mid-year review. And then we have June, the month we are currently in. I've read 1 book so far this month. I have not written in it yet because I still wanted to take before the pen pictures. But yes, this will be filled up very soon as well. I did give myself a couple more summary pages because hopefully I will be reading a bit more. I mean, in May I read 6 books, I think, so June I'm aiming for about between 5 to 8 again as well. We'll see how that goes. Then after the June stats page, I actually added in a couple of pages that I've been wanting to have for a while. As you can see here, I added in a monthly tracker and a reading log. I know a lot of people put these at the beginning of their journal, and I knew I wanted them, but I didn't feel like they fit at the beginning of the journal. They are instead here at the halfway mark. I think that it would be nice to have it evenly distributed between the year, so it's like a nice halfway point. So I've been tracking, how many books I read per month and the pages as well. And then I've got this simple reading log that I've made just because I want to track each book that I read without the summary, just like a nice overview or like year at a glance kind of thing. So I've allowed a couple more pages to finish up that reading log, and then next time we meet, hopefully we will be doing this mid-year review spread together. Throughout the month, I will no doubt get to planning and sketching this out a little bit, but at the moment, my current idea is to summarize most of my stats into nice little pie charts. I got some new stencils and I'm excited to use these round ones to do some nice looking charts. I'm not sure how I'm going to incorporate my current theme and the colors, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So yeah. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did by leaving a comment down below or leaving it a like. Apologies again for disappearing off the face of the earth for a little while, but I am so glad to be back and making these videos. Let me know if you like them or if you have any suggestions of how I can make them better, or if you have ideas for other fun videos, and I'll be sure to take those into consideration. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys again really soon. Bye!